Welcome to another exciting episode of You Don't Know. An exciting two-part episode of You Don't Know. We met with Christopher S.Jacobs, and this is what you're fixing to see. Very good, very informative round of discussions. We have two one-hour-long episodes, and there's just really chocked full of some good information on this one. So welcome to my home, to my studio here in Austin, Texas. Sit back, enjoy the ride, get yourself some refreshments, and just check it out. It's a really good episode, very informative, and with some really heavy stuff too. So thanks for joining us. You kick ass. Christopher.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, how's it going?
Awesome, man. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Very well.
All right, great. Let me see if I can get this thing repositioned here. Right. Man, is it as hot over there as it is here?
Yeah, it's been in the 90s to hundreds up in Prescott, but it doesn't feel like it. There's not really hardly any humidity here, but down in Phoenix, it's been horrible. I haven't been down there lately, but I know other people that have lived down there, and it's been 120, 125 a couple times down there.
I can't believe that. Is that the real temperature or what it feels like?
I believe that's what it feels like, but still, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, you can almost cook. Your food needs to be 150 degrees to cook, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I did try that experiment when I lived in Phoenix the first time, Tempe, Phoenix. I threw an egg on the pavement, and it actually, all the moisture bubbled out of it and became like a cracker, burnt to a crisp on the pavement.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How long ago was it that you were living there in Phoenix?
I was there in 2008 and 2009, and I went to school at a place called Collins College when it existed down there, take film and photography. And, and I was living in various apartments while I was there, and there was an area that was close to downtown Tempe that was extremely hot, and I hadn't lived in a desert environment before. I was always up in Nebraska. And I figured, okay, it doesn't feel that horrifying here. It's cooler in the shade, so I figured I'd walk downtown. And I came back. I didn't carry any water with me. I just walked downtown and walked back again. And I was ready to collapse when I got back. I was like, oh, my God. It was just horrible. And my roommates are going, what have we learned? So,
yeah. I bet dogs probably die of heat exhaustion all the time over there, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there's a big controversy going on here with people ending up leaving dogs in the cars and everything, and it's gotten pretty bad. It's not bad up here in Prescott, but down in Phoenix, I've heard a few reports of that.
Oh yeah, here in Austin, they're very hardcore about that. You know, they're very pet friendly here in Austin. And if you leave your pet out in the car, unless it's like running and the air conditioner's going, they'll call 911 on you in a heartbeat. Anyone. So
That's very good. I'm glad to hear that because we saw that here once in Prescott. We were sitting in a restaurant, me and Joanna were, and there was this lady going around trying to find the owner of a vehicle that was out in the parking lot. And it turned out there was like a poodle or something sitting in the truck that was out there, and it was about 85 out. It wasn't like horrifically hot, but in the truck it was pretty bad.
Oh yeah, it only takes a few minutes for that thing to heat up like a terrarium.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've actually sat in a vehicle that's had no air conditioning. My original truck that I used in Tempe turned into an oven really quick. It had no air conditioning. It was my father's old truck, and it had no air conditioning, so I had to leave the windows open all the time in it. And it got pretty ugly if I would end up closing them for the night or something. I'd get in there, and I had to let it vent for a while.
Oh yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, you know, I have a question I want to ask you about Tempe, but right quick, let's dispense with the formalities. Welcome to another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do. All right. Today we are here with Christopher S.Jacobs, and we are going to hear some fascinating tales of what happens in the supersensible worlds, the realities of the supersensible world that's all around us and interpenetrating us right at this very moment, including our chakra system and all this. And so we're going to find out what Christopher has in store for us today. Sit back, get you some ice cold lemonade or whatever it is, get you a refreshment. I know it's very hot here in Austin, Texas today. I think it's triple digit. I don't know how the weather is where you are, but hopefully it's all right. And sit back for the next hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, and get educated. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Ian.
Yeah, Christopher, man. You know, before we were talking a minute ago about Tempe, Arizona, and in the past we know that you have a natural gift that you were born with, but it apparently was enhanced by this terrible motorcycle wreck or this auto accident that you had. Was that in Arizona?
Yeah, that was actually in Tucson. I went there to do a photo shoot. That's back when I photographed models. Before I did this, I was actually a photographer who photographed models and landscapes and such. And I was going down to Tucson to go to a shoot that was in a local park down there. And I, at one point, felt compelled to, go across the street, and, of course, the bathrooms in the park didn't work, so I went across the street to a McDonald's and came back out, and there was nobody else crossing the particular crosswalk that I had to go across, and the traffic was not that bad. It was average, and I figured, okay, somebody will stop, if they see me, and I saw there had been a red light further down the road, and I started to cross, and all of a sudden there were cars up on me, and one of them didn't stop. And I basically was the guy's hood ornament for a little bit. And yeah, and he hits the brakes, and then I go flying, and my right leg got broken because that's where the car hit. It was a low rider, and it broke my right leg, and I landed on my left knee, which destroyed my left knee. I had to get that operated on. And in that interim between me losing consciousness and when the firefighters were there and the paramedics were there, I had actually had a near-death experience where I was around my guides for what I thought was a couple of weeks, actually. And it was, it's felt like a couple of weeks to me. And when I came back, I found out I had actually been deceased for about an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Had you been pronounced dead yet?
Yeah, I actually had.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe. So did they, in their physical way of looking at things, did they think that they had resuscitated you or something like this?
No, I actually just woke up. And, I even had the sheet over me, everything.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that.
Yeah, wow. And they said they had attempted to hit me with the defibrillators, before. and they were loading. They were just about to put me in the ambulance, and then I woke up, and it shocked the hell out of all the firemen that were around.
Oh man.
And yeah, and I got in the back of the ambulance with a paramedic. He was named Fred, and Fred was asking me several questions that I don't even remember now because it was like a haze. And I do know he was asking to see if I could move my feet and everything. He was seeing if I was paralyzed, and he was just covered in like sweat. He was, I believe, one of them that was trying to revive me, and he was like, oh, he was pretty much in tears at that point. And I remember reaching up to shake his hand, and my left, no, not my right little finger was bent the other direction.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
this one here was bent this way,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, because see, this finger went into the person's windshield and got turned around.
Wow.
And that's how hard that I hit this person, or he hit me rather, and I had to have this finger turned back around, and some of the ligaments in this hand here were actually removed to operate on that finger to where I could keep it and move it. I just can't move that middle knuckle
Oh wow.
there because that was fused. This was completely busted here, so they had to fuse that. And yeah, that alone was a bad recovery. But my right leg had a rod put in it because it was totally shattered because it took the brunt of the impact, and I was like bruised all the way down my right side. And when I got to the hospital, I was there a month. I was in the hospital a month, and then I went to my father's in Illinois. He lives in Mundelein, Illinois, and he sent a Medivan all the way to Tucson to pick me up and bring me there. He hired a crew to come get me.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
When's the last time you spoke to your father?
Probably it was actually on Father's Day this year.
Oh,
So
great.
yeah, I don't get to talk to him very often. We're too busy running our business here. We don't get to talk to too many friends that live in the different states and everything. We're constantly filming. We're constantly, doing reads and all this other stuff. So time just kind of flies past you when you're doing that.
Yeah. Well, that's great. It sounds like y'all are staying real busy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Our business, the product portion of it isn't going as fast as the reads portion of it. That's the first part of it. The products we're trying to get out there, they're so new that, like with the rods and the bowls, are so new, such a new concept of or type of orgone that people kind of shrug it off at first. They're going, I don't know about that. They're kind of skeptical about it until we actually are able to prove it to people what these can do.
Oh, well, that's great. Are these Tibetan bowls or are they crystal bowls? What are the bowls that you have available on your website?
The bowls, I actually make them very much like a candle, and I don't have one in here to show you, but they're a typical glass bowl that you can get anywhere, and we wrap a crystal in copper, and we just set it down on top of another copper coil that's in the bottom of the bowl, and I put various ingredients in there like salt, stones, sage. All sorts of different stones in there. We recently filmed a video on how to create one of these on our Vimeo as well.
Awesome.
And these can actually, with the proper ingredients and the proper intention put into them, I've seen them repel demons. So these actually work real well. And we make little ones to medium-sized ones. We had really big ones, like big tabletop ones. And those didn't sell very well. We still have a couple of them. They're very heavy, so they don't ship very easily.
Right.
And they weigh like 9-10 pounds, so they don't ship very easily. But they actually work. They send the torsion field up into the air, and it keeps a shield over that immediate room, is what these bowls do.
Huh. That's awesome. I've got a friend that's actually been under attack, a type of I think it's maybe a psionic attack or something like this. So maybe I'll recommend that she look at y'all's website.
All right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of these psionic and psyops types of attacks going on recently. Voice to skull, scalar wave, smart meter, AI attacks. Yeah, there's these have been rampant lately.
Oh yeah, I mean now with the new smart meters, they just need to know who they want to get, and they'll just turn it on to your house.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this is why we tried to develop products to combat the AI signals. I mean, the bowls will do that, but we have a rod type we call the ABN buster, and what ABN stands for is Archonian binary network, and that is the AI signal that is going around the planet pretty much, and it arcs through our satellites.
Yeah, it goes through the electricity too, doesn't it?
Yes, and I have a friend that's actually developed outlet covers made of shungite that you can put on the outlets, and also those child-safe plugs you can put in there. He made them out of shungite and resin, and I just have one single plug cover on our outlet down here, and just one next to the closet because closets are notorious for entities. So I figured I'd put it next to that. So and it's worked very well. Even that little piece sends out an energy a resonance. And I also noticed that there's these type of implants that can go through electrical lines. They're lime green color and they're barely visible. And they arc through the electrical lines, they arc through Ethernet lines and any outlets that are in the house. They jump through your electrical system, and they are alive. They're a type of life form or AI. And by putting those on the outlets, I've actually managed to stop these things from arcing through the outlet the electrical system in the house.
Wow, that's great. And so this shungite electric cover that you have for the light switch, probably the circuit of the house helps it protect the whole house because it's, the thing that's could be used to attack is being used to protect almost.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We only have one of them at the moment, but the guy we deal with, his name is Derek, and his wife's name is Maureen Condit. They live in Washington State at the moment. They create shungite honey and a variety of other products like these things that we sit next to our Wi-Fi, and these are made out of shungite and resin and copper. And we put these next to our Wi-Fi here, and it helps to keep the signals away from us. Like if we can't unplug it while we're sleeping, it actually helps with that.
That's awesome. So is shungite a rock or a mineral?
Yes, actually it comes from a small area in Russia where they said a meteorite with it crashed a long time ago. I actually found out it was a spaceship that crashed many centuries ago.
Oh my goodness.
That actually was coded in this. It was a different alien race that actually crashed here. And what I found out about shungite, and it grows, but it grows very slowly. Like if I were to throw some in a waterway somewhere, it would take about 100 years for it to even start to, spread as a mineral. And that's why I always tell people, take some pieces of shungite, throw them in waterways. We say that about quartz too, to bless an area. But if you want to help also throw some shungite pieces in places, and it slowly will become part of the land and start to grow after a while. I came to find out.
That's awesome. Now, is shungite, is that one of your more expensive, middle of the road, or cheaper type of gems?
It's actually more on the expensive side. I've actually tried to find bulk places that sell it, and it's actually fairly difficult to locate in bulk. You can get it on Amazon, but you only get small bags of it. We use it on our dream catchers that we make and everything. We use it in practically everything we create, and it's actually very difficult to locate in bulk.
Huh. So do you put that in the rods as well?
In one of them, and that would be the ABN buster. We use that as one of the primary ingredients, along with quartz, and that and various other ingredients that create the torsion field. And what the ABN buster does is we have it basically pointing like a sword or an arrow at the smart meter, and it cancels out the AI signal that's coming from it. It won't mess with the company functions of it, but it will get rid of the binary network signal.
Huh, yeah, so the company doesn't even know that their electricity is being cleansed, or at least right there at your house.
Yeah, they don't realize it, but the people that are monitoring the AI signal, like some of the military industrial complex, we've actually had military attention because of some of these rods. So
from your customers, somebody's looked at your customers or whatever.
Yeah, they've been kind of watching, especially the two of the rods that we've created, the ABN Buster, and another one we nicknamed the Holy Hand Grenade.
Yeah.
That one is a demon killing one, and those two rods seem to get the most attention by government and military.
Huh? They somehow sense that they're being blocked.
Yeah, yeah. In one case, it's some of the demon forces that are roaming around that are actually getting chewed up. In another case, it's their AI that's getting messed up. So that those two rods have gotten serious attention over the past 3, 4 months.
Well, you mentioned this ABN, this Archontic binary network, and I
Hmm.
really find that that's a really apropos term because the way I understand it, binary, we're, I'm maybe even possibly more than that, but we're at least trinary. We're not binary, and that's why I feel like they'll never be able to put the true human consciousness in an AI. They might get a facsimile of it or a perverted version of it, but I don't know. I mean, you may know more about that than I do, but if you'll remember my adventure in Colorado and Utah recently, that was an ABN that I got hit with, wasn't it? Or that they tried to hit me with.
Yeah, type of programming. You see, embedded within a lot of videos, like say on YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, social media is notorious for this. There is a signal that is embedded in movies, embedded in any of these videos that are being passed around online. I had to actually create a revocation that blocked me from a lot of these different signals. Each time I get on and off Facebook, I have to say that in my head all the time to be able to purge anything that's come through my eyes. And how this works is this: say you're looking at a video on YouTube, and you see how sometimes you see that weird streaming or pixelation that shows up in there. There's a certain pattern of these blips that shows up anytime that there's a program trying to come through. It's red and green, and it goes off in different directions, almost like a star pattern or like a cross pattern. And this is a binary network trying to flash signals into your head, and it can be felt if you're sensitive enough.
Wow.
And it sometimes can be painful too. It comes in through the eyes and goes down through, either back down through the spinal column energy or through down towards the chest. It depends on the person how it comes in, but it always comes in through the eyes because the eyes are looking right at the screen. And some people can call this music programming too, because like if you're at, say, a concert, for instance, and you're like at a live concert, sometimes a musician can be programmed also to send some of these signals out through their brain. And these archontic forces, like the outward binary network, can download something into the person's brain, and through their fingers, they're actually emitting certain tones, like on a guitar or a piano or something, that coincide with this binary's wishes, this binary network's wishes, and it'll program everyone in the audience.
That's awesome that you've discovered this, this fact, because tell me if you think that that's maybe somehow similar. Some of these directors of some of these movies seem to do some predictive programming and stuff like that. And so the common idea is that they're sitting around the round table with the quote-unquote Illuminati, and they're being given this information. Well, couldn't it be just something like this, that they're actually inadvertently just getting this stuff?
Yes, a majority of the time, this is the way it comes in. It's not like they're sitting in a big boarding room somewhere going, okay, you hear, you hear, you hear, you hear. The Illuminati doesn't operate that way. They have very few people that are actually in the know of the information. The rest is programming spread all over the place.
I know it, and I've got a very important issue that I wanted to bring up with you to get your opinion on. So, and you know that the summer solstice is what, this upcoming Thursday?
I believe it already passed on the 21st. The summer solstice was already here.
Oh, okay. Well, because I heard it was going to be on Thursday, but we can look into that. But these things, some of these rituals that we know that they have, in particular sacrifice rituals, happen before and after, these solstices. And somebody my friend, that I think you know who I'm talking about, I'm not going to tell you how I get it, but I caught wind of an event that she was invited to, and this was out in the country, and it was a bunch of very wealthy people, and this was in Bastrop, Texas, which is known for having a bunch of hauntings out in the woods. And this is the part I can't say very much about because it's very disturbing. Well, first of all, and if you can, as we're sitting here and you're kind of contemplating on these, if you get any information from the guides or whatever, let me know. But I have been told that this person is under a triple binding. that they not that
Yeah.
they have one quote unquote handler, but they have 3 very powerful handlers.
Okay.
And something has happened recently that's made me think, I mean, just something really outlandish. But anyway, I caught wind of this meeting, and this person was saying that she, you know, there was the party or whatever it is. I don't know if it's Eyes Wide Shut or what, but it's that her staying down there, he gave the name of a person that she could stay with. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it was a woman. And I'm not going to say anything to reveal this woman's identity. But this Bastrop is a very small town. And so the name, which is just the first name, I looked it up on the internet, and it was a very unusual name. So to have a very unusual name and of a woman and everything like that, it almost had to be the same woman. Lo and behold, and I really can't reveal too much about this. What type of? Let's just say it was a boys' home, okay? And everyone thinks that she's been exonerated and everything like this, but the Attorney General of Texas, who was running for governor like about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, or maybe even longer than that, she was shut down for having 40 boys there, and they were known by the state, but she apparently, and just saying that they were living in bad conditions. So I mean, you know, with only that being said, but she got busted. You know, they came in with a SWAT team and all this stuff, and I mean, all the evidence now points to that she's a very caring person and everything like that. But just to know that she's connected with this party, it sends red flags to the roof.
Yeah, there's more than one thing going on here. What I'm seeing, you know, this automatically, it hits like a lightning bolt if it's something that's true, you know, and whether it's positive or negative.
All right.
And I'm seeing a whole underground area with there's people in cages. I've seen this before with my own eyes too. I've seen things like this before. So is Joanna. Certain memories started coming back to us that were very similar to this. So this is actually, I'm seeing what's more towards the surface is, of course, these kids are being heavily mistreated. But underneath, the ones that are in the cages are more set for reptilians to either feed on the energy or to actually, you know, eat them. And they do that. And this is something that happens every day that people don't know about. We haven't talked about it too much because, you know, how disturbing it is, but this is something that actually goes on. And this, I'm definitely seeing this whole thing going there. But another thing that's going on there is some of the children are sold into slavery off planet. They're actually taken by other races and taken to other solar systems, and they end up being missing people after a while.
Oh
and some are taken into bases that are nearby, and different corporations that are running different experiments will hold them there as well.
For like psychotronic experiments and stuff like that?
Yes, and they can actually be turned into somebody like, you heard of the Montauk Project, where it had to do with time travel, and also the different chairs that people would sit in.
Yeah.
Sometimes children are used for not only fueling voice to skull stuff that's out there, that this binary signal can go through, and they're basically used almost like a computer processor to where they can project these things out. Joanna, I've run into this psychically multiple times. Majority of these psyopses that are hitting people are either AI or these children that have had these enhancements done to actually propel these thoughts out. And they're sitting in these chairs and they're hooked up to all sorts of wires and everything like that. Sometimes it's just through the back and they're sitting in a chair like a throne. But or they're in a how can I describe it? They're like in a tank that looks like kind of like a big egg, or it's like an oval-esque thing.
Like a sensory deprivation tank or something?
Yes, and their brains are being used like a computer processor.
Oh
yes.
My gosh. Let me
Mm-hmm.
give you a little bit more information just to see if you can pick up anything on this. When this real bizarre event happened with my friend that was down there in that town or whatever, then we were working on something because they had one of these like VRBO type things. Somebody come in and we were working to get this going, and she needed me to do something. And I left my phone in the other house, so she gave me her phone to look up something. You know, I was working on something, and I did make the decision. She gave me the phone, but she did not give me permission to go snooping around on her phone. And I did, and that's where I found out this information. And the thing is, let me just tell you very briefly, It was a person she's had 3 texts from, or 4 texts from in the last year. And she had been ignoring the text. Okay? He, in the first couple of texts, he was talking about he'd seen her at the event, last year's event or whatever. And somehow they had had a very intense weekend. Apparently him and her, so which leads you to believe that apparently there was some type of, you know, I don't know how else to say it, but, you know, some type of sexual experience. And anyway, so he'd been reaching out to her since then, and she totally had not answered his call. Well, on the one from this February, he very nicely reached out to her and everything like that, and he said that he'd been going down his list, quote his list, and noticed that she hadn't, you know, called him back or whatever. And he said that especially because they didn't know one another very well, but they had that one very intense weekend. He thought that if she didn't want to talk to him, she should at least do him the dignity of saying, "Hey, don't contact me anymore." You know, anything would be better than just like ignoring him. And he wasn't blowing up her phone. I mean, we're talking about 3 or 4 texts in a year. And then he said something that almost sounded like a threat. He said something about, it did sound like a threat. He said that life or something doesn't go too well for people that don't follow these protocols or these basic niceties. Okay? This is where it gets weird. And then he mentioned about this. No, he didn't mention about the party yet. Okay. She got back with him. And it was just lovey-dovey. She was cherished his love. So how, you know, you meet a stranger, maybe you have a romantic evening with them, and then you're blowing them off for a year, and then all of a sudden you cherish their love. I mean, red flags were just going through the roof. And then after that, it was about a couple of weeks ago, talking about this event that was last weekend, and I was worried.
Oh, yeah. I would be in this case, because this person is definitely a handler, and okay, now I'm getting a color picture here. He activated a programming knot, let's say, somewhere in her brain, kind of like you've heard of sleeper agents, to where they can activate certain programming for a certain certain op they have to perform or something.
Right.
This is definitely, this person may have sent something through a phone, a signal through a phone, a signal from above. This person could have had access to a satellite, but this programming was turned on in her to where she would be more cooperative with these handlers' wishes. Like she was distancing herself because her true self was basically keeping her distance. But then the programming hits through either a scalar wave, binary network, voice to skull, something, or through the phone, and now she's more amicable to do what this person wants.
Yeah, and so I'm very scared about it. And let me just tell you, this person's name, first name and last name, was on the phone. She had it saved as his name. You know, I didn't know whether it was his real name or not until I started looking into it, and I think that it really was his real name. And let me tell you, this person works at high tech with a company that even does artificial intelligence. He's a mentor for these guys that are like super geniuses. He's one of the owners of this company that's out there in California. I'm not going to tell you the name of it. I'll tell you after the program. But these guys are super geniuses. Well, he's like their mentor. Well, on the description of him, it basically said, if we were to tell you this guy's life story, you wouldn't even believe it. I mean, yes. I've never read a bio like that. I'm like, that's for sure the guy.
Yes, he's definitely a handler. He's programmed himself. I can feel like a big knot of programming within this person. He's definitely controlled by AI, without a doubt. The guides are putting a shield between me and his energy, but there's definitely programming like raining and cascading down through his core. He has no core light from what I can see. And I don't run into that too often. How can I say? Yeah, he's definitely a handler, but I'm seeing a signal hitting him that is around him and just cloaked around the top of his head here. Like he's just completely 100% controlled from this company. The aliens definitely did a number on this person. Either he is a biologically programmed life form, or some kind of like clone or something like that is totally 100% controlled, or he was captured even as a little child and programmed at that point. Or there's a third option where he was programmed pre-birth, like in a fetal stage, to have certain programming come out at a certain time. That way, those are the hardest ones to detect. This one seems to be the middle road here, where I'm going to ask, see which one this is that I'm looking at. Immediately the answer, they gave me the answer, he's clone. He's a clone.
He's a clone, okay.
He's a clone. Because this is the programming is too saturated in this to have not have been woven into the person, being created somewhere. And there might be several clones of this person too. There might be a dozen of them out there. This is also where some of these children get thrown into it too. There's the female ones go into the sexual circles where sometimes there's clones made of them and they're sold off in the galaxy somewhere. A lot of that has come to a stop way off out in the outer rims of the galaxy and everything. I came to find out that some of the other galactics are cracking down on that, like our police officers would here. It's pretty much the same. But yeah, what I'm picking up is, there's a direct link here between this slave trade and this person and these people that he's working for. I'm sensing a lot of fear around some of the people that he's working around, though. They feel they have to do this.
Well, yeah, if this guy's is that powerful, and these people themselves are very powerful. They're very, very rich, but like extremely good with computers, and to where they like speak at big events and stuff, like having to do with AI and stuff like that. There's no telling how much these individual guys are worth. Now, and just see if I told you that somebody said that she was under a triple binding, and I have asked her who her handlers might be. Okay, and two of them, we know who they might be. For these two, I can't give away too much information, but you know.
Yeah, I know.
And she gave me a short list. Well, guess what? She put my name on the list, which I thought was odd. And so I don't know why she did that. But another one was one of our friends from Lubbock or whatever. But the question, these two men that kind of are interested in her, and here's another thing: these two men that are interested in her never seem to care too much about me. But for some reason, right now or a couple weeks ago, they were both insanely jealous of me. So that's, and so there's, a red flag right there. But I have been led to believe that these two guys hate each other. And I've started to wonder, what if that's not true? What if they're working together? But my question is this, just when you get a sense of this triple binding, are these people working in opposition to one another, or are they working together?
They're working together. It's just they're for appearances. They're opposing one another to try to cause arguments. Their handlers out there in space like to cause for and against all the time. So they're going to want to get as much energy as they possibly can. With this binding of hers, this can be undone. This can be undone through revocations very easily. Sometimes these knots can be very thick. Sometimes these programming knots can be very, very thick. I ran into one of my own from my SSP days. I came to find out there was something a reading someone else did on me, to where a programming knot was discovered, and I had to deal with it. I had to take care of it. So and it's still ongoing, unraveling that. So I can understand. I can see in her there are two lighter. I don't want to say lighter, wrong choice of words. Less dense programming knots, and there's one giant one. Okay. There's a really thick one in there, and that's the one that these two people used to lure her back with.
Well, let me just go ahead and mention this because nobody knows who this person is, but but anyway, she has more or less gone back with her ex-husband, and I'm going to get another drink right quick, but I'd like you to just think about that, and I'm just wondering if he is. We've suspected he's one of her handlers, but I'm just wondering if he is. I'll be right back.
All right.
Gunter. Oh, good boy. You've been a good boy, buddy. Where you at? Okay, I plugged my headphones back in, so I should be able to hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you. All right.
Okay, yeah. What I'm picking up, and I know who this person is. Yeah, definitely this program that I'm seeing is somewhere towards the middle of the brain. I'm seeing somewhere in the memory center or further above that. And that's the thick knot of programming. Either that or it's further back or it looks larger than it actually is. But the other two, one is in her frontal lobe to cancel out the higher judgment, and the other one is behind on the back of the brain. But the bigger one seems to control these other two programming knots. And this is definitely, ooh, man, that gives me a headache even looking at that. That's these are sentient programs as well. There's three types that I've run into within people that have been programmed. Sometimes there's this one or the other. I feel she has all three. And I found out this recently with a loved one as well. There was this triple thread thing going on too. And there's a kill program or murder program that's in there. They usually use that for like assassins and super soldiers and such. There's the sleep program where that'll just make them fall asleep if something true is found out. And then there is the suicide program. Well, when something is found out, the program automatically makes them self-terminate. So, and I'm seeing all three of these threads in her.
She has been talking about suicide. She does go to sleep on inopportune times and stuff like this, and she thinks she does not believe that this type of possession or whatever it is, this mind control, is real. And I've even been told that that's a program to not believe it.
Yeah, skepticism is another type of one. Heavy amounts. No, there's the healthy amount that people should have, yeah. And then there is the programmed amount that's a psyops. That, like a good example would be the head of Skeptic magazine. His name escapes me at the moment, but he's always saying, "Oh, that's a fake. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's a computer graphic. Oh, that's this, and this." It's like, for one, you have no proof of that, and two, it's a program running over and over in the head. That one's not as common as the other three are. The kill one, the suicide one, and the sleep one. The skepticism one will those people in the backstage area or in like the secret space program or military industrial complex were probably very adept, and believed in all of this stuff. But when brought here as an agent, they will be overly skeptical to the point of obnoxiousness, yeah. And that's how they are. That's how you can pick them out. They won't believe in anything. There's nothing you can ever show them that will convince them. But that's the lesser of the four here. The other three are the three common ones that I've run into. And it's usually just one in a person. Like there's a suicide program, there is a sleep program, or there's a murder program. With this person, all three are there.
Yeah, and these people who have been programmed like this, they can be used for a number of different functions, shall we say. And I know enough about this person to know at least what one of these functions is, because this person has like superhuman capabilities in the, there's no other way to put it, but in the area of sexuality. I mean, superhuman, okay? But also we find out that they can be used as couriers or to exchange information and stuff like this. And, I'm worried about her.
Yes, this energetically, soul-wise, this person is good. The soul came in with good intentions, but there's this other program thread in there. Either there's two options here. Either the soul came in and chose to experience this, to either try to correct something somewhere and got entangled in this, or this was an overage and the soul's been captured in that form. Now, soulmates, or soul partners or compatible alchemies sometimes will come in, and this is what we talked about in the lifting not too long ago, where soulmates are more of a Rubik's Cube, where some things have to be worked out. It's not as direct as I originally thought it was. It maybe in the ancient past it was. But there's so much junk that happened in multiple lives, multiple time frames, everything. There's all these energetics that have to be worked out. Sometimes soulmates and soul partners can be on opposing sides in a lifetime too. They can be enemies. I came to find out they can be opponents. And this seems to be the case with her. I believe this can be fixed. But this is also up to her and her inner work to do as well. To get rid of these different programs, they have to be unequivocally revoked. They have to be denied completely and erased.
Yes, and so maybe she's not ready to do that, or maybe she's become complacent or accepted on some level. But let me tell you this, and because I want to get this is very important, I want to get your reflections on this, because this brought me almost to a new realization. What somebody told me that not only her, but me, or our relationship together could be being used for. And that is for ritualistic purposes, for us as symbols. And so I don't want to give away too much, but I don't want to give away too much with this, and you already know this, but it is very easy to associate this person that we're talking about with, let's just go ahead and say it, Hollywood. Okay, we'll just leave it at that, Hollywood. Okay, now you know about the book that I've written. My family created the national security state and everything, and so I can be seen as a symbol of this. What this person said is the NSA. Well, see, we know that I have. Nobody up there listens to me. They may or may not know who I am or whatever. But foreign agents, like foreign Chinese agents and stuff like that, especially since I've written this book, and especially since her deal. We can be seen as symbols of these two entities I mentioned, Hollywood and the NSA. Well, if we come together or go apart or get in a fight and something like that, that could be seen as reading, oh, well, they're together, they're apart.
They're trying to create a narrative is what they're doing.
Yes,
they're trying.
Yes.
Yes,
I've seen this. It could even be a fake narrative. And we don't even, and like I said, we don't, the idea of us as symbols of this may not even be valid, or probably is not valid, but it looks good,
Oh yeah, I see you have energies that were at least of a soul partner-ish type, but there's been so much programming here. Like, how can I explain this? I'm seeing this all in one format here. This is okay. Somebody's trying to take it out of my head as I'm trying to speak it, so now I know it's legit. So that's where I blanked for a second. They will do that if you're hitting on something that is absolutely 100% authentic.
Yes.
The bad guys, the Archonyic binary network will try to just suck it out of you like a vacuum. And I just call them vanishing thoughts, because it's just, we spoke about this not too long ago about vanishing thoughts. This is, definitely they're trying to create a narrative. Your guides are keeping this away from you so that this narrative doesn't get created. The bad side here, the Illuminati cabal side here, thinks they've won, thinks they've already written this script. We'll just say they've already scripted this. But in fact, it's backfiring on them. These good forces are backfiring this scripting on them to where they're getting psyopsed by the good guys, see, to think they've won.
Yeah, right. And the truth is, I am not the person that we're talking about. I have not been spoken to them or been in communication with them for over a week and a half now, which is pretty unusual. So I can and there were some other, like some of these bizarre things that happened could have easily been maybe made to happen by her guides or my guides or something like that.
Yeah, even though energy-wise you have compatible energies, there is this dangerous programming in here that your guides think is a threat to you. So
it is.
So yeah, It's a toxicity that you don't need. Now, it doesn't mean just because somebody's a soulmate or a soul partner doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stay together in this lifetime.
That's right.
At all.
Uh-huh.
They may need to work this out, and then when they go to the other side, they can choose to have another expression somewhere where it's already worked out and they're together again.
Yeah. I mean, it just defies logic, any type of logic that we've been together this last year, just because I don't want to say that she hates me, but I mean, it's just bizarre, dude. And the crap that I've put up with, that doesn't even make sense, you know, but it could be looked at that I'm like girl crazy or I'm crazy about her or something like that, but it's just, it doesn't, there's no comprehensible, rational explanation that you can give outside of some type of magical spell or programming or hypnosis that will even come close. It's just too bizarre.
All of the above. In this case, it's all of the above. There's magical, I'll just say magical intention put into this, alien programming, binary programming, alien tampering of genes, you name it, this has been done.
Well, we started talking about this over 6 months ago, but I think it really is what we suspected from the very beginning, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, most definitely. Handlers can come in a variety of different ways. The two main ones I've come across, though, are cabal handlers and soul handlers. Soul handler would be like, say, how Joanna and I are, like soulmate figures, where we've worked out all of our differences in other lifetimes, worked out the Rubik's Cube already. And she's come in basically to shield me or help me stay grounded while I'm doing my work, and then I help her rise above different scenarios as well. Basically, she's my soul handler, and I'm her soul handler. In a case of cabal handler, these people, like I said, are heavily programmed to be around the person. They may even marry the person or just be around the person to distract them away from a soul path that they're supposed to be on, or somewhere they're supposed to go or be with or what have you. And in some cases, as a universal joke, these guys will use someone's soulmate to do it, so there's more of an attraction.
Yeah. And it's more also rubbing it in your face, maybe spiritually or something. You know?
Yes, yeah. Basically, say, here we have your soulmate, and now you have to follow this person. That's not necessarily true.
Right.
Because back when I first spoke to you, I didn't know all the intricacies. I was seeing it as more of a straight line, and it's more of a Rubik's Cube. And this is how we described it on the show. Think of a Rubik's Cube that has all the color faces and everything perfect when you first buy the Rubik's Cube. Now, say somebody like a handler jumbles this up, or an entity jumbles it up. Now it's up to both sides to actually try to bring these colors back into alignment again. And that's all. Some people call this karma. It's more of energy releases and revoking old contracts and bindings and all this other stuff. And it can be a tied up knot of a mess, basically, or clusterfuck, basically. So
Well, the timing has to be everything, too. Sometimes it's best not to try to fix something. It's best just to, like, stay apart and stuff like that.
Yeah, and let things go and let the chips fall where they may. In this case, I'm picking up, though, that it's better that you're away from that toxicity at the moment.
Because I am away from it.
You're being propelled in a different direction. Even though this is your soul partner, the Rubik's Cube has not been completely repaired or aligned yet. And I feel by separating this and not engaging in this programming that's on this side, you're fixing that Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, and I haven't been reaching out to her, and she hasn't been reaching out to me, and so
that's
all for the better.
Yeah, me too. I just get this overall like clean energy feeling around you now. But when you're near this person, I'm just getting this sinking, heavy feeling. Even though I see a very high psychic capability with this person, I'm still seeing those 3 programming alterations.
Okay, now like I told you, somebody said that she had a triple binding on her, which I thought meant 3 handlers. And now you're talking about a triple binding of 3 different types of maybe programming or something like that. Are these 3s related, or like is each handler represent a different type of programming or something, or?
Yes, you can actually say that. It's also the AI likes to do things in 3s as well. People always see 3s as sacred, and this did start out that way. The universe did do things in 3s to be sacred. The AI signal hijacked this a very long time ago, And so people started developing OCD habits in threes.
Like Tesla, like Nikola Tesla.
Yes,
He had to have
exactly.
3 napkins, 3 this, 3 that,
Yeah, because he was starting to be controlled after a while. It didn't happen right away, from what I understand, because he was opposing this archontic force out there, and it eventually got to him. But with this, yeah, I'm seeing 3 different handlers. This seems to be a triple trinity sort of thing, like 3 different programmings, 3 different handlers, but with in them, each one of them could be handling it 3 different ways too. They do things in these threes, and this is how this AI works. Like people die in threes. You always see that. People feel they have to do things in threes, like take 3 sips of water, to turn a doorknob 3 times. Take 3 steps. Do things like that. Do things in these AI patterns. That's why in the movie The Matrix, in the fight scene Neo and Smith have in the subway, you see Neo passing near the number 1 on the pillar, and you see Smith passing next to the number 3 on the pillar, because they're showing the AI was representing 3, and the human was representing 1, an individual.
Yes.
And that's how you can tell the AI is at work. There's these repetitious trinity patterns that are in there constantly, or trinity, triple trinity. It's not saying the number 3 is evil. It's that it's being used for evil.
Right. I understand. And so, I mean, I think it's all too obvious. At least who 2 of her handlers are, because one of them's her ex-husband, and another one is this man who's a very powerful mogul, literally a Hollywood mogul. I don't, I really can't say too much, but and then I guess there's a third one. Maybe the third one is this guy that invited her to the party or whatever. So somebody said maybe he's not, but you have these gestures and stuff. Like he went to a party where people like this are known to exist, and he just pulled one of the gestures and happened to get her code.
Yeah, one reeled her in. That person reeled her in like a fisherman with a fishing rod, and he was the fisherman, reeled her in, and the other 2. Oh, he installed programming himself that was already in him. Because I'm seeing one jump from one to the other. And there were definitely aliens in between different handlers too, because I'm definitely seeing gray faces and Archon type figures in there. And then they programmed these other 2, and these other 2 being around her with this third person are definitely keeping a watch on this person to make sure she stays scripted and on script. And you wouldn't believe how many times her voice to Skull and in dreams and stuff I've heard this. You need to stay on script, because see, at one point in the SSP stuff, I was on a certain script, and now that I've vibrated out of that and freed myself from that, I hear this constantly in my head. It's louder on different days, but I'll hear, you need to get back on script, you need to get back on script, which tells me they have no control over me. It's just they're trying to get me to consent to it.
Yeah.
They're trying to get me to feed into it or buy into it.
Yeah. When this deal happened, what I told you was very extremely bizarre. And some people did do something. It was just some sunglasses at a hardware store that, fell out of her car or whatever, went back the next day. And the guy really did do something wrong. But, I mean, she went off, was throwing stuff out of the dumpster. We never saw him, but she got the cops called on us. Okay?
Oh, wow.
But when she was so fuming, and I got out of the car with my dog, and I walked away because I didn't want to be involved with the cops. But anyway, then we got back together, but then she was angry, and it was like she was like in a trance. Literally, in a trance.
Yeah, that would be like the murderous temperamental program, the side of the coin. I've experienced that quite a bit as well. Before I started unraveling this, I had some of those as well. I'm still working on some of these program issues myself.